Biggest takeaway hasn't exactly come from the men's bracket, but instead it's a hype and interest surrounding the women's side of the court. Yahoo Finance's Dave Briggs joins us to take a deeper dive in this week's installment of What Just Happened.
Yeah, some big money pouring into women's sports, and March Madness is at the center of all that. A full 50 years after Title IX was passed, the women's NCAA tournament is finally branded, like the men's, as March Madness, and in many measurable ways, it is ladies first in college hoops. We're talking tickets, TV, and social media. With San Diego State, Florida Atlantic, UConn, and Miami set to tip Saturday, at this moment, you can get tickets on StubHub for just over $70, while the average ticket price for this weekend's men's slate in Houston is $234 per SI tickets. That's a 92% drop from last year's blue blood-rich Final Four in New Orleans. Now, watching the women in person in Dallas will cost you nearly 5 times more than the men, more than $320 just to get in for the cheap seats on StubHub. And while both are in Texas, we should mention a key caveat here. The men's Final Four is played at a 70,000-seat NRG arena, while the women's play at 20,000-seat American Airlines Arena, but we have never before seen women's prices meet the men's, let alone exceed them. The women's game also attracting eyeballs, courtesy undefeated South Carolina and Iowa's Player of the Year, Caitlin Clark. Take, for example, Sunday's Iowa-Louisville regional final. It averaged 2.5 million viewers on ESPN. That's up a staggering 94% from last year, the largest audience ever for a women's tournament game outside of the Final Four, and even more than the most watched NBA game on ESPN all season. Yeah, that includes LeBron. Overall, the full women's tournament is averaging 660,000 viewers per game, up 42% from last year. On the men's side, not so much. Viewership was up early, but declined for all Elite 8 telecasts and Sweet 16 telecasts, and in some regards, was the smallest audience since 2016. The same could even be said of women dominating the social media side. 7 players in the women's Final Four have more than 100,000 Instagram followers. 0 goose egg on the men's side. Why? A lot of factors here. For one, the men's Final Four features 4 teams with the 4 seed or higher. The women's seed are all top 3s, traditional powers and big stars. Also, a recent Ally Financial ad buy with Disney's ESPN may be the biggest deal yet. It's a multi-million-dollar deal that requires 90% of its investment be put into women's sports through expanded game highlights, branded content, and features across ESPN. So the media is finally helping. Women's professional sports sponsorships also grew 20% year over year in 2022, and more than 70% of sports executives believe women's sports revenue will grow by more than 15% over the next 3 to 5 years. That's according to WaterhouseCoopers. The National Women's Soccer League is also smashing record attendance ratings and ticket sales in what's shaping up to be truly the year women's sports truly began to bridge the gap. It is such an exciting time for the business of women's sports, Jared. They are really raising the bar at every level, and the Final Four is the quintessential example.
Some incredible stats there, Dave. I'm happy to see University of Miami, my home city there, at least getting a little seat there. And some
tough one against UConn tomorrow
really
night,
tough.
But I will tell you, 9:30 tonight, Iowa, South Carolina, and the women's side might smash a TV record. I recommend you checking it out.
Will do. Thank you for that, Dave Briggs.